What's going on? Welcome, welcome, my friend. Cool. Give it about a minute to let some people enter, and we'll go through some of these questions, go through some of the topics on my mind, and yeah. Hopefully everyone's doing okay. Hopefully people are getting all their travel plans for 2024 ready. I'm excited for this year. This is going to be an awesome year. At least that's how I have it set up. So I hope everyone else is just as positive as me. Alrighty. What's going on, Matt? Welcome. Thank you for joining. Appreciate you. All right. Oops, sorry. Yeah, I just want to give it just a little bit so that as I start to talk about some of these topics, a few more people can join in. All right, we got 4. You know what? If I get up to 5, I'm just going to start talking. Honestly, 4 might be good. 4 is some people. So, Chad, appreciate you. Thank you so much. Yes, going to drop a little bit of knowledge in here. Lynn, what's going on? All righty. Okay, yeah. So Cesar said he's going to be team underrated, which is going to be City and Choice. They are definitely very underrated, especially that combo right there. Being able to use City and getting yourself the 2 times points when you transfer it over to Choice privilege points, especially for places if you look over in Europe and you see the different types of Choice hotels that are over there. Really good value. I think it's more of like Amsterdam and those spots where Choice ends up being more valuable or even more like luxury as well. So just to start off, it's funny, I made a video where I was going over the different cards that I wanted to get for this year, and then I started seeing different things that are going on with the Ink Unlimited, so I applied for that, and I got myself approved again for another one of those. For those people who have not already jumped on the train of the ink cards, it is just a way to rack up a ton of Chase Ultimate Reward points. And you can't get multiple under the same name, I don't believe, but you can get multiple under different types of names. And if you have ways to be able to hit the minimum spend, because of the fact that it ends up being a 12-month of 0 APR, makes that card make so much sense, because even if you are a low spender, you can pay future bills as long as you're strategic with it. You don't have to worry about, having to pay any type of debt. The fact that you get 12 months to pay off $6,000, if you're doing that, it would end up being $500 a month. Now, I've said this in other videos where I don't know how you can live outside of your family, like unless you're someone who's like 17 in high school, under $500 a month. It just seems impossible. So if you haven't got one of those ink cards, or if you've just been hesitant, it's time to jump on that train. And if you've already gotten some, I say get more. Come up and get yourself an EIN and also a sole proprietor. So, but I'm happy I got myself that. So I'm going to add some more Chase Ultimate Reward points, which I just used a number of them for a hotel that I got planned for like the end of the year. And then I just added all this. So it works out really, really well for me. The next thing there's a few things I want to jump into. One, I have a membership. If anyone wants to join, I know that many other creators have these YouTube memberships. I have one here as well. I set it up. So if you want to help support the channel, you can go to the membership on YouTube and you can sign up to be one of my members. I'm going to have videos and other different things that are going to be specifically for my members. I'm also going to try to give out different gifts that I can to my members. And if you want to also communicate with me outside of here, the way that you can do that really well would end up being on my Facebook group, which is Cheap Travel Knowledge. I had some issues with it the first time that I did this on live on New Year's Day, but now it's working. I think it's like 20 people. So, but if you want to go in there, and for myself, I just work better on Facebook with the group when it comes to communicating with people with points and miles. I don't really even use Facebook for pretty much anything else, but this works out well for me. as compared to some of the other different platforms that I know other creators are using, and they work out really well for them. And I was even just communicating with someone earlier today on one of them. But I just know for myself, this ends up being one that I know I wanted to create, and I was just thinking about what the different platforms, so I just created one on YouTube. I mean, on Facebook. So check out Cheap Travel Knowledge Facebook group. Please join. We can communicate in there if you have questions or if you have different information you want to drop it in there. I just have found that platform to be really easy to navigate through. One of the things that I wanted to bring up, I don't know how many people ended up using my link for the Capital One shopping portal when it came to signing up for it, but that thing ended up being incredibly lucrative if you were smart about it. So all you have to do is sign up. I mean, the deal is now gone. I think you can still get something like $30 or so if you sign up through the link that I still have, which is something, or I think it's 30. I would have to check. Similar to kind of like with Rakuten, and the Capital One shopping portal is going to be very similar to Rakuten, except for the difference is that you don't get the ability to make it into either Capital One points or like membership reward points. What you get is you just get the cash back. But it's a great way to look at just different deals as compared to with Rakuten. You also can look at it, like for me, I always compare it to Alaskan Airlines shopping portal, American Airlines shopping portal, and just other different ones out there. But this one had a great deal where if you signed up, you got yourself $200 for signing up and then $200 for referring someone. Now, you don't get actual cash. They give you $200, but you have to get it into a gift card. But there's hotels.com on there. And I got multiple. It did have a cap, but I think that someone else ended up signing up in the new year. So I got additional part of that, even though they signed up. I think they didn't make a purchase until the new year. So I got even more of a referral on that. But I did have a number of people in person that I had do it. So I don't know how many people even use my link just from online. But man, the Capital One shop portal, I have now all this hotels.com gift card money that I was like, I didn't even have this planned. But so far, it's been a really good year with Star for Points. We're only 10 days in. I've already got myself the Ink Unlimited, and then also I got and then many hundreds of dollars, might even be soon $1,000 on hotels.com because of the Capital One shopping. So I always say that you have to look at all the different avenues of being able to earn yourself points. Sign up bonuses are great, but also these shopping portals can be an excellent way to earn yourself a ton of points. And then I got many of them off of referrals as well. So check out using referrals for player 2, for spouses, family members, loved ones, whomever, coworkers. Like, I get more referrals from in person than I do online. I know there's many people who are very fortunate where I get some online, and everyone who does use mine, I'm incredibly thankful for that. But I help people a lot of times in person, and that allows me to get referrals because people just won't go, if you're gonna do the work, I'll sign up for it. Just let me know how I can book the thing. I just got a few different people who I've just helped bookings with. Had someone who's going to be doing their first lay flat, have them going transcon, and then I have another person who's doing lay flat over to France. So it's pretty cool. Definitely take that trip if you want to do it. It's just hop on these different trips. Don't just only save all this points. So I'm gonna look back, see what people are saying here. Let's see. Only sure to approve me for sub with C was AA Business. Well, that's good. AA Business. Listen, I consider AA Miles Lynn to be the most powerful miles in the game. If you watched my predictions video that Luke had many other creators, or he asked many other creators to create, one of them was that I unfortunately believe AA is going to have a devaluation this year because all the other big programs have. AA hasn't had it in a little bit. I mean, they've done like different things with their dynamic pricing for overseas and for themselves, but AA miles are still so strong at this moment. Be thankful that you have that. So that ends up being awesome. Plan on stacking as much spend as I can this year. Yeah, earn those points. Everyone's having a great evening. Thank you, Chad. Appreciate that. You need to get on the inks. Yes, you need to, Matt. You gotta get on those ink bonuses. It's just a way to rack up many points. And the beautiful thing about it is that you stay under 524. So like last year, I got so many cards last year. I don't even know exactly the number, but the reason why I was able to do it is because I just got so many business cards. So if you end up getting a lot of business cards, and then it allows you to still stay under 524, to still be able to have the option to be able to get yourself another ink card. So even though I'm at 424 and I've gotten myself, I think last year, personal cards, I got the American Airlines personal card. I got 2 American Airlines personal cards. I got the Amex green card, which was personal, and then the Capital One Venture X. So I did get 4 personal cards, but then I left it right at that. And then I was able to now get myself another ink card. It's a great way to be able to rack up tons of points. Plus, also, if you get yourself the ink cash, you can get so many points from that, getting yourself gift cards, or even just using it for internet purchases, or if you happen to still have cable, you get 5x. It's a fixed category of 5x that can end up being very, very valuable. So I highly recommend checking out those ink cards. Let's see. So we have totally missed out. Okay, so internet, my house, net. Yeah, exactly. Exactly what I was just saying. What's going on, Dugras? Oh, I'm glad you found the group. Thank you for joining. Same thing with Cesar. Thank you for joining. I really appreciate you all. Yeah, so there's that. And it seems like more of the people who are in here are more advanced, but I also have my cheap travel knowledge service that I have going. As I was just kind of saying earlier, just this week, I've already been able to help out 2 different people with bookings, which was fantastic. Still a very small company. I think most people in here are pretty advanced. Won't end up needing the service, but if you end up knowing someone who does, you can pitch it out and or toss out my name. That ended up being fantastic. So we're going to go over some of the different questions here that are set up from people, because I posted this in the Facebook group and then also on my YouTube channel. So the first question is by Mr. Anthony Venture. Thank you, Anthony, for writing in. So he writes in, like, this isn't in the exact order that people wrote it in, so I'm just grabbing some of them. He was saying, hearing the news about the door coming off the plane on Alaskan flight, and hearing also Matt Welter, who had a story about the Alaskan plane being on fire. Even though they are Boeings, yes, he said he believes. Are there any airlines you just won't fly because of safety issues? So yeah, what's going on with the 737 MAX is concerning. And I know that there's some people in here probably who are thinking to themselves, no fear. And even for myself, I'm like, okay, I don't want to fly on this plane, but if this is the only option, I probably would, not this moment, okay? We got to get this, they got to figure out whatever's going on with the door blowing off. But there's been many issues with it. And the thing has been on such everyone's radar ever since they had those horrific accidents. I think it was 2019, and then they had to ground them for 2 years because of that whole scandal that ended up happening. But for me, it's not, I wouldn't say the airline. So there's not like a specific airline where I'm like, okay, I won't fly them. Like, I don't look at Spirit, and there's all these different jokes of, like, you see on things like Instagram where people are saying that they're delayed and they're just waiting. They're waiting in their seat. They're waiting in the seat because they say it's like a snowstorm, and then they see a Spirit airline flight just take off. There's for me, the different airlines that I like, the way I think of it is there's different airplanes. I don't like flying on smaller airplanes. I like flying on bigger airplanes. I feel way more comfortable when there is any type of turbulence. I feel significantly better about it because it doesn't tend to be as I guess, you don't feel it as much. So that's one of the things that I've noticed about being on bigger airplanes is compared to smaller ones. So if you are fearful of flying, and I think you've said this before, even myself, I still, when I take off, I have my headphones on, I blast music, and I kind of like get myself a little bit pumped up as the airplane takes off. As soon as it's off and in the air, I'm good. But that takeoff, I still always have just a little bit of jitters because I didn't travel pretty much at all as a kid. I mean, I took a bus to like West Virginia and some things like that, but it was very little traveling in my family. I have a very large family, and we didn't have much at all. So when I ended up going, I didn't end up getting on a plane for the first time until I was in my mid-20s. So I've always been like, wow, this is a little weird, the way this entire process works. But there's so many planes traveling, and there's so much going into it that, like, these planes that, like, having these things grounded and having these things, they cost these companies so much money. They don't want to have that happen. So all these different corner cuttings that's happening with Boeing that they're doing, ends up being definitely an issue, but their stock price went down 10% because of this. So it's like they have to start really taking this stuff into consideration because they're all about the dollar. If they keep on, everyone thinks that they're unsafe. Like what I feel is going to end up happening is someone's going to, and I think someone told me they might already have something like this, but it's probably going to end up being just like a search tool where if you want to search a flight, like on Google, you're going to be able to select not 737 Max, which would probably infuriate Boeing, but people might want that because you're just like, nah, I'm scared of that aircraft. I don't want to do it. But I think as a whole, if you are nervous about this stuff, Anthony, get on a bigger plane, one that has many people on it, and then also look for an Airbus. Airbus is connected of many different European companies or many different European countries. Putting the thing together, it's not just about cutting corners for the stock price. Like you could maybe say Boeing is. I mean, Boeing is a big time American company. Obviously, we want them to do well, but it's very unfortunate just how much the different things with like their stock buybacks and stuff that seems like they're just it's not about trying to make a great product. It's more about trying to just make an extra nickel. So, all right, I'm going to see what's going on here before I go on to the next question. So from the group, okay. So Matt says waiting out the JetBlue business card. Yeah, that ends up being a good one to get. Just documentation I needed to send them. Yeah, Barclays is a pain in the butt for when it comes to some of their cards. They want all this different documentation, but the JetBlue business card is a card that I recommend because you get a similar feel of having yourself status. You get Group A boarding with JetBlue business cards. So when the people who are sitting in Mint go on, if you happen to be doing Transcon, you're going to be getting on at the exact same time as them. You never have to worry about overhead bin space. That was one of the cards that I had that I want to get this year. But I can't remember if I applied for it. I know I applied to a Barclays card 2023 and I got denied, business card, and I got denied for it. I didn't do the JEP, so I've just been trying to wait it out. But yeah, that's an excellent card. Allegiance is sketchy. That's what Tampa Travel says. Should get rid of the 737 concept. Cool. Yeah, so I think that's what Matt's saying, that they should get rid of the 737 concept as a whole instead of because they had the Max that they're just adding onto the 737, which I believe is the most successful plane when it comes to just amount of sales and things like that. So the reason why, from what I heard, that they went on with the 737 Max and the reason why it's taken so long is because, now I probably am going to get some of this information wrong, so I apologize. But it ended up being that it comes down to the training. So if you end up having the whole new design and setup for training, it's going to cost these companies that are buying these planes a ton of money to train their pilots to be proficient on these different aircrafts. And the way that they don't want to do that because it's going to cost them too much money. So even though the plane costs a certain amount, it also is going to cost a ton to be able to get the specific pilots who are prepared to be able to fly on these different aircrafts. So they want something that is already incredibly similar to what they already have, except for just better. So it's saying, hey, how can you make the computer I have just better? Don't make it bigger or different or the buttons in different places. Just make it faster, make it so that's what they want. But then it's not, I mean, this might end up being a terrible analogy, but it's like, okay, if you had a truck, but the truck was taking up too much gas, and you're like, cool, we're going to grab the parts of the truck and just put it onto a Fiat, it might not work so perfect. Obviously, that's not a great analogy for it, but that's what it kind of seems is going on with the Max. But there's a lot of other Maxes that have been flying well. There's been some problems. Hey, what's going on, Matt? I think, yeah, we just, Anthony brought you up in his question because he's a little nervous about flying after seeing all the stuff that's going on with the Alaskan Airlines flight. Yeah. So Matt says he likes the A321neo. Thank you so much, Chad, for joining the Facebook group. Let's see. Okay, so I see that it looks like Douglas has some questions, but I'm going to, before I get onto that question, Douglas, I'm just going to jump onto the next question here. And unfortunately, I don't have a great answer for it, but Carlin Robb is the name of the person who wrote it. I don't know if it seems like it should be Rob Carlin, but Carlin Robb is his name on YouTube. He says, secrets to bidding for upgrades on airlines that allow for this would be a great topic. So I wish I had a good answer for you. I've had the option to do biddings, but I've never done it. Typically, if I have a seat that I'm going to be flying in, then I just say, okay, this is what I am flying in. And I know that there's options to be able to put in your bid and then hope you end up getting the upgrades, but I haven't participated in that, so I'm not an expert in this. There is a Points Guy article, so if you end up Googling it and looking at the Points Guy, who breaks down a ton of information on that. I know how to do different things when it comes to upgrades with points for certain airlines. A great one would end up being if you wanted to fly on Emirates in first class. Usually, if you can, when you book yourself a business class, you can end up getting yourself a good deal. I know many people have done it when it comes to flying from, let's see, is it Newark to Athens? And then there's also JFK to Milan, where when you end up flying on those in the business class, many of the times I end up giving you the option to be able to use points to be able to upgrade to the first class. It ends up being cheaper than the first class. Now, if you really, really want the first class, then you probably should just book it straight up, because then you don't want to miss out on the opportunity of not doing that. But many occasions I've seen people, this is the trick that they do, and you can end up booking it a lot of times with like Air Canada to be able to fly over to one of these different destinations for the business class, transfer over points to your Emirates account when you end up seeing the upgrade. Hopefully it ends up being in time, because I have heard that Emirates can have some different timelines for when the points end up transferring, and then if it ends up doing it, this is going to end up being one of the cheapest ways. But I don't have the bids. I wish I could give you the answers for that. All right, so I'm going to come down here. So Dugra says, what's your favorite card that is not issued by one of the big four? My favorite one of those. I would say, well, the Alaska card can end up being fantastic from Bank of America. If you have, like I know Matt has it, if you have the Alaskan Airlines card when they were giving you companion pass to just have the card, then that it can end up being a superpower if you have a second person. I had it and I got rid of it because I just don't fly with people. But there's tricks out there. There is what's his name? There's a gentleman from Frequent Miler who talks about how many free flights he's gotten for his companion because of using the Alaska Airlines companion pass, because you can use the way Alaska Airlines works out, the amount of different like stopovers and different tricks you can end up doing with it is you can end up getting so many like free flights. So that's one that I guess you can't get right now, or you still can get it, but you have to pay. You have to spend $6,000 on the card to be able to get the companion pass. Now they don't just give it to you, but people are grandfathered in. It was something that I was thinking about. Should I cancel it because I want to have this ability to be grandfathered in? But I'm like, I don't feel like paying this amount of money year after year when I'm not flying with anyone. I just wanted the Alaska Airlines miles because I love Alaska Airlines miles. They're incredibly valuable, even though they have been doing changes to their program over the last few years, but they're going to end up being great ways to use it. So just off the top of my head, that's the first one that pops in. But I don't know, maybe I'll come back to that one. So let's see. Try to join your group. I thought I reposted it, Chad. Sorry. If you go to Facebook and you just type in Cheap Travel Knowledge, I think it pops up now easily. The first time we had it before, it was under, because I was like, okay, I'll make it private and people join, but then no one could find it because it was private, and I guess they make it private impossible to find, and I couldn't even share a link. But now I have it to where if it's not there, then by the end of the stream, I'll post it again. But I think it should be on my page now where there is a link for it, where you can end up joining the Cheap Travel Knowledge community on Facebook, because now it is public to anyone. And I guess just the way that I have to manage it now is just making sure that if people put in weird stuff, I can just manage the different comments. So that's all I was trying to do, is stop bots. That's the only reason why I was making it private, not because I didn't want people to join, but I just didn't want to have 1,000 bots just advertising whatever stupid thing that they wanted to. Oh yeah, Matt says the engine was smoking during his honeymoon. Yeah. Ooh, talk about exciting, huh? What's going on, Anthony? Thank you so much. We just went over your first question. If you want to go back to it, talked about your fear of flying. I have a little bit of it myself, but so Matt has some experience with bidding. He said he bid like $8 for an exit row seat and got it a couple months ago. So yeah, just put in a number. You know, I wish I had tricks, but I don't. For me, yeah, I don't typically play around with that stuff. I usually book a window seat, or I'm flying in the front. It's one or the other. Let's see. All the heavy hitters here. Yes. Thank you, Phil, for being here as well. Yeah. Matt's grandfather in with that companion pass from Mastercard. Yeah, and the fact that you're married, there's so many different great things that you can end up doing with that as a couple with that card. All right, so Anthony, we have another question here from you, Anthony, and it is about tools. So, is there a tool that I can more quickly view the point price between many different airlines? Like if I wanted to check for Delta via Air France, Virgin, etc., all at once, any software or websites to do that? Or if not, do you just check each website individually? So, to answer your question, there are tools. There are many different tools that I subscribe to, I pay for, that allow me to see some of the different things. But I also do check many of the websites individually. So one of a article, I mean, it's another time me talking about Fruker Miler because they're just fantastic, is if you Google Fruker Miler, which award search tools is best, this going to being a fantastic article to let you see the many different ones out there. And I know this might end up being a little bit like overwhelming with all the different information that's there, but it shows you the different ones that are options out there for you. Now, I've used and also paid for a number of these different sites, but what I would recommend is like these sites or these tools are fantastic, or many of them, but I still think that it's incredibly important to learn the fundamentals of the searches, and like well before using these tools because of I think it's kind of like a way to see your work and then know how you end up getting there and then being able to find different tricks from using these tools of knowing that there's something available there that you may understand that's available connected with another program within the alliance. So that's a way to do it. So tools that I use on here, like, so I'm pretty sure that you have the Bilt Rewards card. I'm almost positive because I know you did the trick and I don't think you ever got rid of it. It's a no annual fee card, so that would make sense. There's with the Bilt card, they have Point.me connected with Bilt. I don't remember how far ahead you can see. I don't know if it's only like 30 days. I hope that it's further. But if you can use the Point.me service, then you would be able to use that to be able to choose a specific day. This can end up being one of the easiest ones to use. The reason I paid for Point.me, I don't know when that was. This was a little while ago just to see how the service worked, played around with it. The challenge I was having with it was that the time that it takes for a search was taking too long. It would take 2 minutes for a specific day. Now it ends up being decently accurate, but it just was taking too much time to do day by day by day. So I could just I felt almost like I could do the searches at a similar speed, not the similar speed, but it just was taking a while. So one of them that I found, actually, I don't even know how I found it. They messaged me on, I believe it was Instagram, which was Romy, and they are much faster than Points.me. They also have a paid service that I pay for, but I don't use a ton. But I do use it sometimes when I end up looking at a day, finding something that I think works out well. And then I will go, you know what, let me check out Romy to see if there's something that I missed. And on occasion, I'll go, oh, I didn't even think of that. This one right here is something that I could have used. So Romy can end up being a good one. The turnaround speed for when you make a search is so much faster. It's almost instant. So because of that, that's the reason why I would recommend them over Point.me. I have heard some people say that Point.me is more accurate when it comes to the different awards that are shown on there. So that can end up being a reason maybe to go with Point.me. But the speed it takes is just, it's night and day. It's so much, you don't want to have to wait 2 minutes for a loading for the page every single day. So if you say, I want to do May 26th, you have to push the button and you have to wait 2 minutes to see if May 26th has what availability. Whereas Romy, you click it and it take 5 seconds, but then it pops up and shows you a number of different things. So that's a great one just for ease of use. You tell them what programs you want to use it with, and then I'll end up showing you this is good, what's going to be available. And again, with these programs like Romy, you might go on there and go, oh, it doesn't have all the award availability for every program. This is the reason why learning the fundamentals for the different programs can allow you to be able to find almost all award availability just from using that program. Because then you can go, oh, okay, I use this program. Now I can, I see it's available on United, which means that it's going to be available on other Star Alliance partners. So I can look at other Star Alliance partners on that day. So learning the fundamentals of how not every website, but how many of the different websites work is going to make these different programs significantly stronger for when you use them as compared to just jumping on them and just going, yeah, these things can do what I needed to do. But they're good. A great one that I like using is Seats.Aero. I've been using that one for a while. I remember before there was even people talking about it. Like there's a lot of people now, I think they have like affiliate links. I put it out there. Someone just posted in like one of the groups I was in. I feel like it might have been close to like 2 years ago. And I remember clicking on it and then being like, oh wow, this thing's pretty cool. And then I was like, whoa, this thing's it's pretty strong. You do have to pay for Seats.Aero. I think you can get like 30 days without paying, where it shows you 30 days in availability. But I don't know I'll sometimes book something within 30 days, but it's not going to be a longer trip. It's going to be something where I'm going somewhere close, maybe like a Vegas or something. But Seats.Aero is great. There's Award Logic. There's Expert Flyer, Seat Spy. Like all these you can use. And I think that if you end up looking at like Expert Flyer, Seat Spy, Seats.Aero, I think is easier than the other ones and also gives you a ton of information. It's probably gonna be the closest to what you're describing of trying to have the different availabilities pop up. But again, I still think that it's you should get these services, but I think that it would be better for you if you get these services other than Romy. Romy, you don't need to really know anything. Better to get these other higher level services after you have a great, and I don't know if you need a decent understanding of how to do award searches just on the other sites. So yeah, but these are the different programs. I know that if you're looking for hotels, Max My Point is the one that there's a few of them out there. Seats has Seats.Room, but I don't like that one at all. I know that I think Frequent Miler talks about it. I found Max My Point to be a better one out there. And you can find award availability for a ton of different rooms. And if you're looking for like suites to be able to use, you can see when there's a suites availability. So I use this a lot of time for my Hyatt hotels because Hyatt has a crappy fake chart on their website that tells you how many points it's going to cost. And you go on the day and there's no availability. So it's incredibly annoying. But if you end up having Max My Point, you can go on there and many of the times they'll end up showing you pretty accurate the availability for these different Hyatt hotels. So with all these different programs, what I will say as a caveat with it is that they're not perfect. There's many of the times where they don't show you, well, I don't want to say it that way. There's going to be awards that may be missing from these different programs. And also, if you're looking further out, you're not going to be able to see these things on there. Like if you were trying to find the furthest out availability through something like Asia Miles, it's not going to be on Seats.Aero. So if you want to get yourself the New Japan Airlines first class from New York over to Tokyo, you can try to find it on Seats.Aero. It probably will be available at certain days, but if you were like, I want to book it 360 days from now, you would go over to Asia Miles, Cathay Pacific. That's going to be the easier way to be able to find it. So they can be great, and they can. I think that I guess I'll put it to you like this. I know I've been talking about this for a little bit, but I just want to hopefully give you a decent amount of help with this. So if you're just like, I want to do a specific, if you're saying like, okay, I just want to go somewhere, I want to go over to say for instance, Tokyo. Like, I just want to go to Tokyo. If you get Seats.Aero and you click into it, it's going to show you a number of different days for Tokyo. If you go, I want to go to Tokyo on July 16th, then that's when you're going to want either Point.me or Roam.me, because then it's going to end up giving you all the different options for that. It's literally going to show you good, bad, it doesn't matter. It's going to just say, these are all the different options out there to go over there on that specific date. And then if you're looking for like specific seats, like, okay, give me, alerts for certain seats. They all do different ways of searching for the seats. And I know that like a lot of people, when they're looking for like availability, like Award Logic ends up being one of the things where I think it's Award Logic or Expert Flyer and Award Logic are ones where when the seats pop up, I think that people said they got an award to pop up quicker. I guess going back to how you kind of asked the question, I'm sorry for rambling on this one for so long. I do both. I use it to start looking for things, but I'm also constantly going on the different websites. I'm constantly going on the different websites because I found things that aren't on there. And then also the way that these things search, but then they search every, sometimes it's a few different hours. and something like Aeroplan is suing like I think all of these different programs, and I think the only one that still has it is Seats.aero. Point Me, I'm pretty sure, not Point Me. Romy, I'm pretty sure has abandoned um, Aeroplan because they just didn't want to go through the lawsuit with such a large company. So yeah, it's they're not gonna have everything on there, but it really does help. I would say check out the ones that I would recommend for I guess two different ones. Look at Romy, or you don't even need to pay for Romy if you have your built rewards card, because then you can end up checking out points.me. Should be able to find availability on there. You will see that the time it takes to do it, and then when you get more comfortable with it, Seats.aero. Those are going to be the ones. Sorry, so I'm going to look back. I know I said a ton of stuff. Let's see. So hey Matt, points. Yeah. I've checked out points. Cesar. And it's all right. Yeah, I guess it's just sometimes the other programs you already found them to be working for you, and you're just like, all right, I see what this thing's doing. Points. Yeah. I think ends up being somewhat better than Romy because it can check more days. You can correct me on this, Cesar. Although Romy did have an update to where you are able to see more days with it for the specific paid version that I have. But I have heard other people saying points. Yeah, Kid could end up being better. So yeah, that's not even on this list. But I have used points. Yeah, I wish I should have looked at even more programs, looked up even more of them because there's a number they're popping up all the time. I just had some advertisement, like I get emails about it. I guess because I mean I'm assuming you all do as well, other creators. But people are messaging me asking me to like use their service, check it out, and I do play around with their services and see if it's worth using. And some of them I'm like, oh, it's very similar to this, but I'm just so accustomed to the other one, or I haven't. Yeah, either I'm just so accustomed and it doesn't have the jump that I need to use the other service. But they can set up alerts and all these different things. So, JP, my first live with you. Oh, thank you, John. Appreciate you. What's going on, KC? I'm going to mark category 1, but it appears is sold out. Have you ever used the Globalist Guarantee availability perk? Would it be worth using? I have not ever used that. I think that comes down to being for paid stays. Yes, that's specifically paid stays. If I'm remember, like I'm pretty sure I know which perk you're talking about, which allows you to be able to they're gonna bump someone else out of the hotel when you end up booking it. So I've never used that before. I know that there's other programs I'm pretty sure they have that as well. I think Hilton you can do that with diamond status where you essentially will bump someone out of it. I don't know how much it's going to cost you for you to be able to do that. If it's a place you really need to go for, or if like your company's paying for it, then okay. But I would definitely look into seeing what the cost of it ended up being. I don't think you can. In fact, I'm pretty positive that you can't just, because I know you said Cat 1, so you're thinking about it points wise, but I don't think it ends up being with points. There's only a certain amount of award points available rooms within Hyatt that you can end up choosing. They don't have the dynamic like you'll see with Marriott, you'll see with IHG, Hilton, where even if they have those other rooms gone, you can just choose with other rooms that are out there. So if you're a globalist, it's not how it's more for paid. So if it ends up being sold out, if it's sold out specifically for paid rooms, they're probably going to ask for a decent amount, but they will bump someone else who's just a member from that room to give you that room. So, yeah. Let's see. How do you spell Romy? Romy is Roame, Dougras. Okay, so yeah, so Jose says that he likes points, yeah. So yeah. Anthony Venture says the best tool is to just pay and book a call with JP, then have him do it for you. Much easier. Thank you. Yeah, as I said earlier, I have my cheap travel knowledge service for anyone who wants to do it. You can just tell me the points you have, tell me how you want to do it. If you want to be incredibly precise on how you want to go about it, I will give you the best options for how you want to do that. Or if you're like, let's be open and tell me how you would want to do it, we can go about it that way as well. So, but I do have my service. Literally, just in the last couple of days, I said in the beginning, top of the live stream, just helped 2 different people get on their first lay flats. So it's pretty cool. It's fun to do. It's just a puzzle. Some of the things are more complicated. And then there's a lot of cases where I'm spending way more time than I think people even realize because I am constantly searching. This is one of the things, Anthony, that I was pretty much going on about those tools is that even though those tools are available, those tools, if you have an alert or something set up, everyone's getting an alert at the exact same time who's trying to book that specific thing. So if you say, forget that, I'm going to look when I can find out that it is available. I'm going to start searching and start doing it myself. That allows you to be able to find the availability before other people, so you can book things up earlier. So other people know how to use these tools, and they're using them, and some people just get reliant on them. Let them be reliant on them. I'll just use my own knowledge to search them when I know that they're going to pop up. Okay. A Hilton Diamond is 48 hours guaranteed at no cost. Okay. You're saying no additional cost? Interesting. Yeah. But yeah, I don't know. Maybe it's the same thing with Hyatt. I've never used it before where you can bump them. It's not like a much more expensive. But I don't know what type of globalist you are, if you have a concierge or if you did like the Built Rewards globalist. I just used the concierge a few days ago. Wow. It's fantastic. Anyone who has the concierge, because I haven't been using them, I was just like, yeah, I have it, but whatever. But I called up the regular line and they just weren't able to help me. And I was like, all right, let me call my concierge again. And she just immediate. She didn't even contact the other hotel. She just did whatever she needed to in the computer. It's fantastic. So speaking of Cesar, he has a question over here. Best way to fly to Switzerland using Chase points, departing from JFK. Aeroplan, and then he says, keep up the great work. Appreciate you, Cesar, for writing in. So yes, when just looking myself for if you're going to like Geneva, you would be, Aeroplan's going to have a really good deal to get over there. For people who were flying, I mean, this is specifically for you, so on the East Coast, that'd be the way to go about it. If you're flying on the West Coast, you could check out like Avianca, because the way Aeroplan works is more like the distance base. And Avianca, the problem with Avianca is their website is the challenging thing is like there's certain programs that websites are so easy. You have United, you have American Airlines, you have there's wonky things about KLM, Flying Blue website, but they work pretty darn well. And then there's websites like Turkish Airlines and Avianca that just will drive you crazy because there's just so many flaws with these websites. One of the things I would say, Cesar, is that I know that if you're just flying, you and the missus, check out with Aeroplan. If you are flying, I know that you have, I'm pretty sure you've said on the channel, so hopefully I'm not putting out any of your information that you don't want out there, but you have a family, you have children. If you want to have multiple people going over, check out Flying Blue. The reason why I say that is because like one of the things is that I know that they have high taxes and fees and people don't like that about them, but I find them to be valuable for people who are flying with families because the amount of times that they'll have multiple seats open, they'll have 4 or 5 seats open. And they went from last year having it the minimum of being 63,000 points to do a business class flight to now 50,000 points to do a business class flight from the US over to Europe, which is a really good deal. So, and then if you end up getting yourself the transfer bonus as well, you can make the deal of flying over to Europe, I feel, to be a really good deal, even though the taxes and fees are higher. So if you are flying with multiple people, like other than just you and your player 2, Mrs., however you want to go about calling her, then it may make more sense to go with something like a Flying Blue program. Again, the taxes and fees are going to be high, but when I start to just look at how much the way I think about how I calculate points as compared to what I'm doing with cash, for me, it can just make a lot of sense to go with something like that. And then just the time it can end up taking to find certain availability. Like, is there better ways? Could you end up doing something like just getting over to Europe using Iberia? Yeah, 34,500 points, I believe, is the number to fly on Iberia from the East Coast of the US over to Europe. I've done Iberia at the cheaper rate. Or I guess I've done Iberia business class and do it at the cheaper rate during the summer. But the thing about it is try to find a couple seats. You look for a couple seats and you'll notice that with Iberia, you go, wow, this is very difficult to find consistently a couple seats. I can find one seat many occasions, and I'm someone who travels alone, so it's not an issue for me. But even though people who are in multiple players in this game can rack up so many points, the difficulty of finding uh, seats for multiple people, it just makes it a lot harder. Especially like, so if you're trying to do first class, the game just becomes a lot harder. Business class can tend to end up being the case where you can find it, but if you're trying to find these awesome deals, then it just becomes more difficult um, with some of these programs. But I think that Flying Blue with Air France, KLM, the deals with them, um, if you're looking for four people, I think it just ends up being worth it. And then if you can find a way to cut down those taxes and fees with some type of cashback card, that can be a great use of it there. Um, but yeah, I mean, just what was it? Business class, sorry, premium economy from JFK to, this is one of the bookings I just was doing an hour ago. Premium economy from JFK to Paris, was it? Oh, I'm gonna forget the number. Was it 38,000 points? 32,000? I just did it. It was in the 30,000s. Might have been 35,000 points. Okay, if you happen to take advantage of I mean, premium economy is not bad. It's decently good. Obviously, we all want the lay flats, but um, yeah, there can. I forget what it was. I think it was like $130 in tax and fees. Like there can end up being some really really good deals with flying. Not even just really good deals. That's the wrong way to say it. It ends up being simpler, I believe. Now, I'm not saying you need to have simple, but I'm just thinking of people who are going to be having. Uh, I'm just thinking if you happen to be going with the entire family. I'm just trying to think of many different scenarios and areas for you with your question. So now I'm going to come back over here. Let's see. It says, thanks for confirming and answering my question. Yeah, airplane. Oh, yeah, they also have the 20% chance bonus. Yeah, yeah. That was the reason why you're asking. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Dugras says, agree. Flying Blue is one of the few programs, business class for four people to Europe, even though Meteorites, taxes. That's what you're trying to say. Yeah. So you're saying even though like the taxes and fees, yes, taxes and fees. So yeah, even though there are tax and fees of a couple $100, like I have a flight. You guys will see. I'm not gonna get into it now, but I have a flight that's coming up soon where I paid a couple $100 in tax and fees, but it was worth it for the type of flight I'm gonna be getting. So, but yes, finding the type of availability on Flying Blue can end up being awesome. Let's see. Correction: 48,000 UR points, business class. For Aeroplan, yeah, to do, yeah, Fly Swiss, yeah, I'm pretty sure I saw, because I think is it like 60,000, I believe is what I saw it at to do Flying Blue, so not Flying Blue, to do Aeroplan, so if you end up doing a 20% transfer bonus, it's probably, I would imagine you're probably right there. Yeah, take a look at, if it's just you and player two, go with Aeroplan. If you were looking at, if you all want to fly together family-wise, check out Air France. Let's see. Airplane worked nicely for me and my player too. So this is Aaron Awards and Adventures. I feel like I recently watched one of your videos, Aaron. Thank you so much for popping in. I got 2 business class tickets, throne seats from Boston to Lisbon. Awesome. 60,000 pop. That's fantastic. Great job. Sometimes I feel like premium economy award points are pretty high in compared to, yes, a lot of programs out there. So this is Wong Way Travels. A lot of programs out there, the premium economy is like ridiculous. Sometimes they don't even have it as an option. I think it's because on many airlines they'll have premium economy, but it'll end up being there's not that many seats. Like I've seen on many airlines where they'll have way more business class seats than they'll even have premium economy seats, and then they won't even have premium economy as an option to even book with awards. And then some of them have it where it's like it's a stupid, ridiculous number that they're asking for. So yeah, many of the times the premium economy 4 points isn't great, but for what I was just looking for on Air France, it was 35,000. So that can end up being a decent deal. And if you're wondering like what is premium economy, if you've flown in, I guess I would say it's similar to flying in like a domestic first class. I think more, if I would look at it, I think it's kind of like you traveled on a train and you have like a train seat is not bad in my opinion. So, but anything's better than those tight economy seats where you can barely move, you know? Uh, okay. Let's see. So you got Cesar talking to Aaron. No problem. Tap Portugal. Not the fanciest in the world, but yeah, hey, I'll take it. Yeah, tap Portugal. There's a really good deal of tap Portugal. Um, I believe it's Avianca. If am I remembering this correctly, or is it just through tap? Can't remember if it's through tap or through Avianca. I'd have to look it back up, but it's something ridiculous. I believe it's the cheapest way you can fly to. It's only like specifically to Portugal. It's not the way back. It's either Avianca or it's uh, tap through tap going to Portugal from, I think it's like New York um, to Portugal. But it ends up being like a ridiculously good deal. It's on tap Portugal, which is they're fine. I mean, like, some people, like, I flew Iberia. I thought Iberia was just okay, but it's better than being in economy, having that lay flat bed. Um, Although the plane was so hot. Um, let's see. Okay, so going on from that question, we're gonna go down to Philmo78, who was in here earlier. Hopefully, I don't know if he's still here, but he asked questions about best tips for first time European travel. Any train easy, or sorry, are trains easy to navigate? English everywhere. Ubers easy to find. Am I going to get pickpocketed? Okay, so we can run down a few of these. So one of the first things I'll say to remember to have is get yourself a universal charger. The chargers or the ports over there are going to be different for your phone and everything like that. So you want to make sure you have that. It's probably going to charge you a ton of money if you buy it at the airport over there. So that's one thing to know. I haven't had an issue with English in the different places that I've been over there. Granted, I've been more in the places where they're going to be catering a lot of times towards touristy people. So because of that, many of the people are going to learn English. I've had more issues when I was in Japan, and yeah, there was a lot of places I go to where people could barely speak English. Like I would say most of the restaurants that I went to in Japan, they didn't know English. Like I had to try to explain to them what a fork was because I can barely use chopsticks. Um, but in Europe, I haven't found that to be an issue. When it comes to public transportation, you say trains easy to navigate, incredibly easy. When I was in Germany, they were great out there. London is awesome. So yeah, like, unless you live in New York, you're gonna be like, wow, this is incredible. New York is the only place that I can think of where the public transportation is like terrible there. I grew up in Massachusetts, and it's decent in Massachusetts when you're in the city in Boston. But out here in LA, it's garbage. It's garbage. I mean, I say that to people who are out here, they're like, it's not even that bad because I guess it's incredibly long. But as compared to any of these other places, or like if you go to Tokyo, where it's just unbelievable, any place you get off in Tokyo is just a 10-minute walk to whatever you want to go to from the train. It's fantastic. So, are Ubers easy to find? So I'm trying to remember which countries it was, but a lot of the countries, they're like, the Ubers are connected with the taxi companies. So if you end up taking if you take a taxi, or if you call an Uber, the Uber that shows up may end up being a taxi. So I'm trying to remember which specific countries this was. It's kind of like blurring, but a lot of the times you can choose public transportation. I think for me, I would use I would use public transportation to get to places, but then if I had Wi-Fi and I had I would just be okay, call a Uber, or if I met up with a group, we would contact an Uber, and we would go from there, and it would just be easier just to get back because I don't want to have to try to get back late in some place I'm not familiar with. When it comes so safety wise, I don't know where you live, but it's gonna feel safer there than most places here, unless you live in some small town here. But if you're like in a major city, if you're in Houston, if you're in LA, if you're in Chicago, if you're in some of these places, then yeah, you won't have to really worry about. I mean, I did have that one guy in Spain who it was like 9:30 in the morning, and I'm walking, and this guy was like, I think he was just drunk, but he was like standing up ready to try to fight me. And I tried to walk by him because I couldn't understand what he was saying, and then he like walked with me, and I just kind of circled around him. And I remember thinking to myself, like, oh goodness, I don't want to have to hurt a person. He wasn't a big person, unless he's really really good fighter. I'm pretty confident it wouldn't have been a challenge. But I just didn't want to have to deal with that in another country. But usually, yeah, you won't have to worry about that type of stuff. Pickpocketing, if you happen to be going to Spain, was something that I was hearing about before I went. I didn't have that issue. One thing that I do with a lot of my pants, when I travel is I even do this on the plane. I have zippers on my either pants or shorts. So when I go to places, I just zip them up. And when I was in Spain, they were telling, like, people were saying these are the best pickpocketers around. Like, you're not gonna find better. So I always was like, I'm a little nervous. I did even meet like this mom and son who she had to go try to figure out how she could, because she like lost her, or she got pickpocketed her phone. She was literally walking with it. Someone just took it and just bolted, and she was in her later 40s. She wasn't catching this guy. But yeah, so if you can get pants or shorts, depending on what time of year you're going, that you have zippers on the side, I recommend it, because they're not going to try to do something and they can't even slip their hand in. They're going to have to stop, zip it down, and a lot of them, they look like normal pants and shorts. So you can't even really tell the difference between them. So um, yeah, let's see. I think that answered all the different questions. Yeah, English should be fine in most places in Europe. I haven't had, yeah, like you can try to speak. I think there's a, oh shoot, I just saw this clip on Instagram not too long ago, but you can try to speak a language with them, and chances are they're just going to switch over to English with you, because they'd rather speak English than you than hear you speak Spanish poorly or French poorly or whatever it is you're trying to speak. Alrighty, so let's look at this before I go on to the, I believe, final question on here. Also with PE, people likely upgrade via money from economy, so the price word points higher. Also with premium economy, people are likely to upgrade. Oh, I see what you're saying. Yeah, people are likely to upgrade with money. Yes, yes, yeah. So yeah, a lot of people do end up upgrading with money. I mean, the thing about it is like, I don't know how, like, even people who are more basic in this game, I don't think you all realize how much. Oh, thank you so much, Filmo. I appreciate you. Thank you so much. And I know you're also in my um, uh, Facebook group. I saw you in there as well. So I really, really appreciate that. There was a question. Now, I don't know if any other creators have this as a problem, but there was a question that you asked, and then, or I can't remember if you asked it, but you said something about your Venture X, and I think you said you had two. And I asked you the question of, do you have two that are with you, like you specifically have two, or is it that your player two also has another one, and that's the reason why you have two in the household? And this happens on YouTube, and I swear I don't delete anything, but it says that there's like another response, but then when I click on it, it just shows nothing. It just pops up as nothing. So if you did happen to respond to that question, or if you can now, that'd be great to let me know, because I think it was you who said that you had two Venture X's in your household. But I can't remember. I didn't know if this was you you can get two with Capital One, because if you can, I'm going to try to do that at some point. Or if it was just another person. Okay, you and player two. Okay, that makes sense. Yeah, I was like, oh, if I can get another one of these, I'm just going to keep on racking up the points with Capital One. But cool. Thank you for that. Thank you so much for the super chat. I really, really appreciate that so much. That was very kind of you. Let's see. So, I forget where I was going with that. Oh, I was saying that for us who are even just like more, for anyone who's even just more like, just okay, I'm newer to the game and this, that, and you're wondering, oh, am I getting good value? Like, you have to understand, you're so much farther than so many other people in travel. I was just talking to someone not too long ago, and they were hearing about how I was telling them about how I'm able to do this different travel, and they were like blown away by it. And they were like, listen, I'm probably going to end up using your service in the near future. And they were telling me how they went to the Philippines, and they had to fly back from the Philippines, and they just didn't want to fly in economy. So this gentleman, along with his wife and his two kids, he just paid, I think he said it was somewhere along the lines of like 3,000-ish. I think it was maybe like $2,500 each person to upgrade to get them into business class. So he paid $10,000 for a one-way flight from the Philippines to Los Angeles. And this doesn't include what he paid to get there. It doesn't include what he paid for the hotels. It doesn't include any of the other things. This just shows, like, if you're like, oh my goodness, I have to spend $1,500 on Air France, what is it? Taxes and fees to go over there, and the surcharges for multiple people. Yes, that's not, you don't want to have to spend that, but that's still light years ahead from one way spending $10,000 for four people. That is just like ridiculous. And I was just like, oh wow. But I know people pay this. There was that mom and son who, her phone got stolen out in Spain. she was telling me that she had to book a bit because her son also lost his passport. She had to book a business class flight on Iberia from there over to New York, and then they were going to drive over to Connecticut after. And she just bought two business class seats for her and her son. This had to have been like just for like a week later. It's probably, I don't know, maybe $6,000 at the low end for both of them together. At the higher end, it might have been somewhere between $8,000 to $10,000 it could cost. I mean, it's just ridiculous how much a lot of this travel can end up costing. So if you're worried about not getting yourself the greatest value anyone out here, just know that like you're probably doing okay. You may not have getting the best value, but just doing okay and taking that trip is more important than just analysis paralysis and not doing it at all. Um, oh, backpack, luggage recommendations. So I have a Samsonite suitcase. I It wasn't too long ago I had to get a new one because my wheel broke on my old Samsonite. I had it for a decade. My great uncle bought me it, pretty much telling me, move the hell up out of your mama's house. So that was a gift that he gave me for graduation, saying, hey, here's a suitcase. Which was a great gift. I used it for quite a decent amount of time. Still, some sentimental value is no longer around. But then the wheel broke, so then I got myself a new Samsonite, and then I have the oh my goodness, I remember because it's called Illmatic is not what it's called. Nomadic. Illmatic is Nas. Nomadic is the backpack I have. That thing is expensive, but I remember when I got it, I forget what the deal that was going on. There was some type of deal that was going on when I got it. I think it was during the pandemic and everyone was just dropping prices on everything. But that backpack is normally like somewhere near $300. But I got it for like, I think it was like near 150, 140, because if you were buying clothing or travel gear during the pandemic, or even just traveling during the pandemic, man, everything was just stupid cheap. It was just ridiculous. But the yeah, Nomadic backpack, fantastic. Absolutely love that backpack. Um, uh, Long Travel says Rome equals taxi. Rome equals taxi slash Uber. Yes. So yeah, and then Jose says in Austria the Ubers are taxis. Exactly. So I think that in some of the places they, other than like how we did here in the U.S. where we were just like, all right, two separate services. And then now the taxi drivers, even though they had to go through certain type of trainings and whatever it is to get to become like, I know people who were taxi drivers in Massachusetts, and it's just like they just kind of lost, a lot of them lost their jobs or haven't been able to get the same type of work over there. And these other countries are like, no, we're not going to let that happen. Either you're connecting with them and we're having the service work out like that, or you're just not going to be able to use the service over here at all. I'm pretty sure that's how they went about it. So that's the reason why it's all kind of connected. Let's see. Okay. Let's go pesos. All right. Long way travel. And then the last question here is by Slick828, and it says, what do you value Hyatt points at? So I think that I look at points very differently than other people. I guess the easy answer I would say is try to get yourself 2 cents per point with your Hyatt points. But a lot of the times how I look at my points, because usually how I'm going to gain Hyatt points are going to be me having my Chase Ultra World points, transferring over to Hyatt. I do earn some from spend at Hyatt. Sometimes I get good deals at Hyatt hotels, and I'll use my Hyatt card and rack up some points there. But a lot of times the way I like to look at it is what is the cash out rate for my points? And if I look at it then I ask myself, would I pay that for that hotel? And I try to do this even without knowing the price point of the hotel. Because what ends up happening is that if you see that the hotel costs $3,000 and it costs 40,000 points, you go, well, I have to do it because the deal is just, it's too good not to do it. That's not how I look at it. I look at hotels and I go, okay, do I want to stay here? If I was to stay here, would I pay $400? And then you could also include, if you wanted to, the travel portal, because then you could maybe put that as the math as well. Okay, add an additional 25% or 50% if you have the reserved. Being, would I pay this amount to stay at this hotel? And for me, that's been an easier way for me to make sense of it. And this is the reason why Hyatt can end up being easier for me to understand how to understand how, like, when it comes to just transferring over the points and making it make sense. So I try to get myself 2 cents per point, and then I also ask myself, do I really want to stay at this hotel, and would I pay the higher amount of some of these hotels that end up costing 40,000 Hyatt points, 45,000 Hyatt points to stay here? Like, do I really want to pay $450 to stay at this hotel, or is it just that I see that the deal is at the price point that it's at that makes me want to be there, because the cents per point? But I'm someone who thinks that the base level of cents per point is incredibly important, but as you start to get to certain numbers, I start to um, I don't want to say I don't care, but it starts to not matter to me very much after you get past a certain level. Like you're going to see on my channel soon, there's going to be some insane cents per point values that I had. And for me, it's more of like, oh, I got to try out this product for a good deal. The price point after a certain point is it to me, it becomes irrelevant because I would never spend anywhere near that amount. So if something costs $20,000 for a round trip in first class, cool. There's no way I would ever pay that amount, you know? So whether if it's but if I look at it being like, okay, this thing is going to be 150,000 points. If I could cash it out at cent per point, that's $1,500. When I pay $1,500 for a one-way somewhere, then you start, okay, then you have to add in some taxes and fees. This is where you start to look like the Emirates first class, where they have these higher tax and fees, and also higher amounts of points that they're asking for to fly from like LA to Dubai. And you go, that is a lot. Even though it tells me that something is going to cost, let's say $11,000, $12,000 for Emirates Game Changer. After you cash out the points, you look at the tax and fees, you're probably somewhere near about close to $3,000. So are you getting a great discount? For sure. But if you're someone who doesn't want to pay $3,000 for a business class flight, why would you want to cash out the points and then do also that paying $3,000? Is it because it's first class? So I know this is like a rambling answer, but I guess the point I'm trying to make here is that like the main thing I look for is I'm trying to get at least 2 cents per point in value for my World of Hyatt points. That's why I say come up with a base level value. But then after that, I try to look at what is the cash out rate for my points and how often can I justify paying this amount for that specific rate. Like there's some hotels that I would stay at that are 40,000 points that I think are awesome, but I wouldn't stay in there maybe for a week because even though I'm getting a good deal, it's like, okay, how many hotels that I stay at how often do I pay $400 for a hotel? It's not very frequent, although everything's going up now, so maybe it's gonna be more often. But like I've been to some weddings where I've spent $300 on a hotel before. Maybe I may have spent near $400 on a hotel before as well. Maybe a little over, but it's not consistently. It's not something I spend a week on. So that's the reason why a lot of times for me, I look at great places that also don't cost that much. But value for Hyatt points, you'll see different values that people put out there. I think a lot of people put out like 1.8-ish. I think if you want to factor in the earning the points along with not being able, the points you don't earn when you are redeeming is something that many people put into the equation as well. But as a whole, what I would say for Hyatt is that if you see a hotel stay that's going to cost over $400 and you can use 20,000 points, that seems like a good deal. Do something like that. If you see it at $300 and you have 20,000 points, if there's a hotel you really want to stay at, I would say if it was me, I would use cash. And but I'd probably be trying to figure out, or it depends. It honestly depends on your financial situation. So, because I wouldn't want to have to spend $300 on a hotel for a week and I got to spend $2,100 on a hotel stay. It's not something I would want to do. But hopefully that helped, and that kind of maybe can give you guys some insight of how I think about when it comes to redeeming points. Because I think everyone thinks about it a little bit differently. There's many people, and there's even people that in a lot of different groups that I'm part of that are constantly just looking for the highest cents per point. And I understand wanting to do that, but there's so many different ways to skew it. If you book something that's really close, if you're only booking specifically one way with certain airlines, they jack up the price. So I think that just cents per point value for everything out there, come up with a base level value, and then after base level value, if it's something that you want to do for the cash out rate, I say do it. That's how I go about it. So let's say I wanted to go Sorry, Wong Wei Travel says, so let's say you wanted to try JetBlue Mint Suites JFK to France. If I wanted to do that, I would have to see what the points amount is. So if I want to do that, what I would do is there's a new deal now that's been going on um, for Qatar Airways, where I believe it ends up being somewhere near about 70-ish thousand points. I might be off by a little bit. I have to look to see exactly what it is. Maybe it's 78,000. But with Qatar Airways, you could book JetBlue Mint from JFK to France for that amount, I believe. I have to check again. There were some things where it happened where it came out and it was like stupid cheap. It was like 34,000 points. I think it was for like only about 24 hours, and it was only for like a few months out, and then they just got rid of that. But now they have it, and it's at like a fixed rate, and I think it's somewhere near 70-ish thousand. So if I wanted to do something like that on JetBlue Mint, I would look for. Oh, he said right here. Would you pay 78,000 True Blue points for 16,000, knowing you want to try the product? So what ends up happening with me is it. So I think that this is different for different people. So for myself, the reason why I could say yes to something like that is because I've gotten now to the point to where if I just only book economy travel, I'm gonna have an insane amount of points like in the next few years. So I have enough points to where I can grab my points and use my points for a JetBlue Mint flight flying over there. And honestly, if you were to ask me, okay, would I pay 700 and well, I guess because JetBlue points you get a little bit more, and if you also have the card. But if you were just thinking about a lot of times I try to do the cash out points at 1 cent equal 1 point. If I was thinking about Chase points transferring over, would I pay $780 for a business class flight for 8 hours? I think that's roughly about how long that flight is over to France. I think this is the math I would tell other people to try to figure out for themselves. I would say, what would you pay for an economy? Would you pay $500 for an economy? Okay, now would you pay an additional $300 for this upgraded seat? This is how I try to because I know many other people just go immediately to cents per point, but this is how I try to pitch it to people to let them come up with what they feel may end up being best. So for myself, I would say I would do it, but it's because I've used a lot of points, but I still also have a ton of points. So if you end up having a surplus of points and you get to the point to where, yeah, I could just book economy because it ends up making more sense, or I do this or do that, then you're just going to have too many points and the points are going to devalue and you start to go, wait a minute, why do I'm just keeping these for nothing? So you have to start booking, like I think 2023, I had different things where I was booking economy and business, or economy and first, because I was trying to do it for YouTube for some of the videos. But I had the ability to be able to book business and first both ways. But then after doing that for last year, I was like, whoa, I saved up too many points. I got to start using these things. It's got to be business everywhere. It's got to be or first if I can see it. Because, I mean, I could cash it out, but the way that I go about my points is my travel. My points is not for me to cash out, but I like to think about it as a cash out, but I use my points for travel specifically. So if you have your points as your travel fund, then you go, cool, this is my travel fund. Well, my travel fund, if I want it to be $5,000, it's at $15,000. I can either have it keep going up, or I can just do a bigger trip. So hopefully that makes sense. I don't know if but I'm all about trying a new product one way. Yeah, and I'm going to be trying out a number of new ones this year. So I would say try it out, see, it's good to compare them, and just to try to see like which one's one that you like to travel in. So there was some news regarding Hyatt some months ago. What eventually happened, and will the value of Hyatt points change? What was the news? So the news was that Hyatt changed up their program so that now like many of the awards and different things you can book like right online. You can also share different awards. So like if you happen to have a suite upgrade, you never used to be able to give this away to people. Now I can just say, hey, I have a suite upgrade. You can take my suite upgrade. I have so you can give things away to people now. You just need to get their account information. So that can end up being that's the newest thing that I know of. Other than that, it was a year ago that they changed some of their reward prices. I think it was March of last year. Usually Hyatt's very good about letting you know like a month before, going, hey, we're going to change this. That was one of the things that happened with me with the Thompson in Madrid that I stayed at, it's only 15,000 points a night. And then I don't know what category it is now, but yeah, I was able to, like, right when the hotel first came out. I don't think I even had any peak pricing at it too. I just 15,000 points a night for, I think it was 7 days I stayed there. It was awesome. So, but they'll let you know, hey, we're about to change this. Just book up things at that time. So I wish I knew more about what the question or which exact specific thing you were talking about. I do know that like they're done with MGM. That's some of the news that happened, and then the different things with how you can. It's easier to do stuff with your awards and with sharing with people and stuff like that. But yeah, that's more the news I know. It says, isn't Hyatt going to dynamic pricing soon? That was a prediction I had, but there hasn't been any indication that's going to happen soon. I have a feeling that they're going to move that way because many other programs do. I think they'll still have they'll still have a Saver Award availability, but I just feel that chances are they're going to move to being dynamic because it just ends up being more profitable for them because many people end up booking awards days for a ridiculous amount of points because they don't know any better. All they know is, hey, I get to use my points and I want to use cash, and they get terrible value for their points. So for them as a program, and then people would rather have the option than not have the option. If any of you guys listen to Gia Breeze, she is fantastic on YouTube. She also has like a massive Instagram, but she does more like quick deals, but she has a fantastic podcast on YouTube. And she had the person who was with Bill Rewards, and she was talking with him. Is he still with Bill Rewards? Yes, I know he's with JetBlue, and he's with a few other programs before. And just talking about how they go about thinking about doing like dynamic pricing and these type of things. And it's some of it is about them making more money, and then some of it's also about, hey, we're trying to make the masses happy. And even though there's people like myself who want to get that great deal and want to put in the work, the vast majority of people just want to grab their points and just redeem it. They don't even want to have to think about the type of value they're getting. They just want to just not have to use cash. So hopefully Hyatt doesn't go dynamic pricing in 2024, but that was one of the predictions I had for my Luke's predictions for 2024. So we shall see. I don't know. But anyways, I've answered all the questions. If people have more questions, please drop it down. If you haven't already, check out the Facebook group, Cheap Travel Knowledge. Excuse me. And in there, I will be able to, people can ask questions. I am more comfortable with Facebook groups than I am with some of the other platforms out there. I still will go on the other platforms, but I just would like to have this Facebook group. I would love for more people to join. I think we have a little over 20 people right now. Hopefully in the next, month or so, maybe we can get that up to 100. I know there's a lot of people who would like to have questions, ask questions, and I will be giving out different things for, maybe as like gifts and stuff like that in the group. And I want to work with people and help people to be able to book trips and questions people may have. So check out Cheap Travel Knowledge, the Facebook group. I do have member only links on, or members options as well on here. So if anyone wants to become a member, you can become a member. And also for members and different things like that, I'm going to be giving away stuff, having different members only videos. So I'm working on that, writing out different things. There's a lot of stuff I'm trying to get going for 2024. And also, again, if someone wants to book a consultation or have an award booking assistance where you give me the information and I can tell you the best options out there, make it become very easy, you can either email me at jp@cheaptravelknowledge.com, or you can go to cheaptravelknowledge.com website. You can fill out the form and then it'll send an email or send me an email, and then I will contact you as soon as we can find a time to link up. So, but yeah, that's it. I don't know if anyone has any further questions. I've been going on for a little over an hour, about an hour, 20 minutes. And this is the longest I've done one of these for. But thank you everyone who asked the questions. I really appreciate that. Sorry for any type of rambling that I may have done. Just trying to answer the questions in my best of my ability to hopefully help people. Because sometimes people ask questions, you get a one-word answer, and you're like, well, that didn't really help. So hopefully what I gave has helped people. But that's what I got for today, January 10th. I will have a lot of more cool content coming out this year. Please, if you haven't, join the Cheap Travel Knowledge community on Facebook. If you want to be a member, become a member, and check out my videos coming out. If you have any more questions, drop them now or forever hold your peace. Thank you, Cesar. Oh, hey, what's going on, Stan? Yeah, you have to catch the replay. I'm right at the end. But I appreciate y'all, any of y'all. Okay. Yep. Thank you. And thank you, Phil. Thank you, Phil, so much for giving me that super chat. It really means a lot. All right, y'all. Catch y'all later. Bye.